106.5 FM and online. It's the After 5 Guest with Wynne Thomas.
And I'm absolutely delighted to have back in the studio my old mate, Mal Pope. How are you, Mal?
Hey, Wynne. Traffic. Actually, I've listened to the traffic report on the way up here. Glad to be to finally be here at Radio Tircoed. It's lovely and warm, isn't it? It's lovely and warm. Is there a storm coming in?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Anyway, the new single is called The Border, which was written last summer. There's quite a bit of story behind this.
There is, yeah. I spent a lot of time with lockdown. I mean, what are you going to do? And I suppose every musician you interview at the moment has probably got a triple album all ready to go because we all wrote so much stuff. But I was talking to a lady called Beverly Humphreys. I always call her the lovely Beverly Humphreys. And she's an opera singer and she does late night radio on BBC Radio Wales as well. And she's gorgeous. And she was High Sheriff for Mid Glamorgan a couple of years ago. But that put her in touch with a whole different sector of society. And as fate would have it, she's become the trusted adult for 5 young refugees. Mm-hmm. They came across as boys, unaccompanied children, and she's become their trusted adult. And as she was telling me this story about them, it really impressed upon me. In this world, it seems to be a lot of us and them and different groups of people and people trying to divide us. But when you start hearing about people's individual stories, they're just human beings. And it really, her passion for looking after these boys just sort of rubbed off a bit on me as well. So The Border is about crossing a border. Now, it sounds maybe it's the Rio Grande. Somehow that's more acceptable to cross the Rio Grande into Mexico to escape the federales or whatever it is. But, people have been crossing borders for thousands of years. And I suppose I'm telling their story.
One of the boys from Entria is on the recording, isn't he?
He is, yes. He's one of I call it Beverly's boys, one of Beverly's boys. And it's Tigrayan. He's from Eritrea, I think it is originally. He came across, a horrendous story about getting across the border to come and live in Wales. And now he is settled and he's got a job and he's paying taxes and everything. And I just thought it would be nice. It's really hard to you can argue on lots of different things, but I would have thought the Bible's pretty much a safe bet for most people to think, okay, well, maybe there's a bit of wisdom in the Bible. And so I took some verses where it talks about refugees, where it talks about people who have left their homes and how you treat strangers and how you should feed the hungry and look after the homeless. And I got I asked Tesvalan to translate them back into Tigrian and to rap it in the middle of the record. So it's his story. And he's using words which are thousands of years old in a language I don't understand, but it means the same thing.
So you become a bit of connections to actually write songs that means something to you, isn't it? I mean, I know your early songs were about faith and your country, but you've gone back to that now, have you?
Yeah, it's just, I've been doing it for a long time. I have been writing songs for a long time. And, you write about things. I've written about musicals. I've written about Evan Roberts, Tommy Farr, the boxer, by the Cappuccino Girls. Yeah, and they're always telling stories. But I just, the last single was called So Sad, and it was about domestic abuse. I mean, I'm picking on some really hot, topics here.
You've become a protest singer, have you?
Absolutely. I've suddenly become Bob Dylan, in my old age. I've become a protest singer. But I want to write songs that maybe mean something more than just rhyming. And that's something all songs tend to have to do. But I just like to... And I suppose I took encouragement from the song So Sad because I would have... that came from another song, which was also about domestic abuse called You Are Not Alone. And the Welsh Government used it in their campaign during lockdown to tell people you're not alone. And if you're having problems, you can ring this number. And one lady got in touch with me and said, your song saved our lives, but... the original song said, pack the bags and wait until the morning. And she said, if we'd have waited until the morning, we might not have got out. And then I wrote a song for her, and other people have used that song to encourage them to find a new life. Wow. So in a way, I find encouragement from that because you want your songs to touch people, whether it makes them fall in love with somebody else or whether it's a song about passion. But I would love the songs that I write from now on to have maybe a little bit more of a depth.
Mal probably remembered for writing songs of faith and courage.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, exactly. Because I want people to think. It's got to the stage now where we seem to accept so much nonsense that's fed to us on a daily basis without really thinking about it. And it's been interesting watching Mick Lynch, the RNT union leader, just talking to people and just being very matter of fact about things. And I think we seem to have forgotten about facts because we're so busy shouting at people.
That's social media for you, isn't it?
It is, and it encourages. I write a blog for the Evening Post. I write a column every week. And it's the first time I've ever heard the word wedge politics. Was last week, where things are put out there to divide us. It's called wedge politics. But there's an old Welsh story. What is Bran the Bountiful? Is that his name? He was from North Wales. He went across to Ireland and he couldn't get across he was a giant, by the way. He was a giant, and his men couldn't get across the river because all the bridges had been burned. And he said, "He who would be a leader, let him be a bridge." And he lies across the river, and his men walk all over him and get to the other side. And in a world of wedges, be a bridge. Win, be a bridge.
I've never done that, but is it tough to write a column every week?
1,200 words.
Yeah,
it's coming around that time of the week. Yeah, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to write about in this week's column. But it's a real discipline. I've been doing it for years and years now. And sometimes I sit there and just start typing. And it sounds stupid. I just start typing anything, and within an hour, there's 1,200 words. And there's a new story to be told.
Well, I'm like that when I do notes for an interview.
Yeah.
I sit there and go, "What am I going to ask him?"
Yeah.
And it just goes vump onto the page.
Exactly. The hardest thing is starting. Most things in life, the hardest thing is starting. You can put it off, procrastinate. But you've just got to start somewhere.
So the song "The Border," you produced it and recorded it as usual, did you? Yes.
Yeah. It's been interesting. The whole experience about making records is very interesting. These days, because you can't all we haven't been able to get all together.
No.
And actually,
I've got lots of stories like that.
Oh, yeah, it's almost impossible. I was just talking to my drummer. His name's Ryan Aston. He's on his way to Italy. He's got a gig in Sicily, he was telling me, on the weekend, and he's flying back to Glastonbury. He's got a couple of days next week where he's going to be doing some of my new tracks. He's got his drums set up in a studio at home. Wally, the bass player, he's got a studio at home. Nigel, the keyboard player, has got a studio at home. Andrew Griffiths in Ystrad. So we're able to do our bits. And in many ways, it's been interesting because there are no limits. I say to the boys, this is the track. Give me everything you can, and then I can pick and choose the bits and then stick it all together.
Wonderful. It's an incredible career, Mal. You've worked with so many different people, been so many different places. I mean, I'm going to ask you a silly question, but can you pick a highlight out at the moment?
Oh, you know what? It is interesting, recording with Elton John at Abbey Road, being on Song for Europe with 17 million people. I always say the person who made the biggest impact on me was a guy called the Reverend Samuel Billy Kiles.
Oh, yes, I remember that, yes.
I met him in Memphis. He was the guy who invited Martin Luther King to Memphis for the garbage workers' strike in 1968. He spent the afternoon with him in the Lorraine Motel, and Martin Luther King and all his mates, Jesse Jackson, they were all going to go to Billy's church for some soul food. And as he was phoning the church they were on our way, the shot rang out, and he saw his friend fall to the floor on the balcony. He grabbed a blanket and wrapped him up, and he saw his friend die. And he told me so many stories around those exploits about how Martin Luther King was there to support garbage workers. It wasn't a black and white thing. It was garbage workers. He wanted them to be free. And I always say Billy Kiles, and I interviewed him 3 or 4 times. I think we sort of became friends. He's sadly no longer with us, but he's the man who probably made the biggest impression with me because it felt like I was touching history.
Like I said, an incredible career. I mean, Steve Balsamo was here a couple of weeks ago, and he's got an incredible career. The people he's worked with, from Robert Plant,
yes,
to it's just numerous. This goes on and on. Just fall out of him. It's incredible. Yeah,
there are so many talented people in this part of the world. I mean, Steve's he's world class. Steve is world class, and he should be on everybody's hit list.
He should be.
And I keep on telling him, "Where's the new record, Steve?" because he's got a massive career still to come, I think.
Yeah. So MPH Records on July the 1st is where the board is going to be released, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've known each other now for probably over 30 years, Mal.
Maybe longer.
I can remember a Christmas show together on Hospital TV in Morristown. And it was a Christmas special, and you came in with your guitar, and we did some live numbers.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying nothing's changed, Win. I left it in the boot today. I didn't want to put everybody off. No, I mean that's the lovely thing about it. What is success? And people measure success by lots of different ways. I have a problem because Elton John was my boss, my mentor, and I measure my success against his career. So there's no way I can ever be in my own mind a success. But I'm still doing it. After all these years, like both of us, we're both still doing it, and that to me that's a success, to be able to do what you love.
Yeah.
Every day. I mean, that's,
Well, I always put
blessed.
it down to the fact, Mal, that if I didn't sit here or any other studio, I wouldn't meet all the people I've met.
Yes. Yeah. Well, every day you meet people normally only meet on the radio, here on the radio, isn't it? And that's, we've had blessed lives.
Well, thanks so much for coming to see me today. It's been brilliant to meet you again. Absolutely fantastic.
Well, thanks for your support with the records and everything, and support for people like Steve and all the other, locally based artists as well.
We do try. Yeah, we do, yeah. We'll finish off by playing The Border. And if I'm queued up right, here we go.
I saw the smoke upon the water, broken glass upon the floor, the painted signs upon the windows, you're not welcome anymore. There was a time we laughed together, another life when we were free. This is the only home I wanted, but it's turned its back on me. Maybe one day I will return, if I survive. If I can make it across the water, if I can make it across the border, then maybe someday when I'm older, I will return across the water. We traveled light, we walked together across the mountains and the seas. We took our shelter in the forest, looked for shade beside the trees. We shed the little bed we carried, laid to rest the ones who slept. We clung to hope when there was darkness, 1,000 promises we kept. Maybe one day I will return, if I survive. If I can make it across the water, if I can make it across the border, then maybe someday when I'm older, I will return across the water. Maybe someday when